this evening. Just want to spend the time with Incredible Michael, find out more about him. Okay, I think he's loading up now.
Hello.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. And you?
I'm good. It's good. It's good to have you on here. It's finally good to have you on here. Looking good, man.
Most
Looking good.
definitely, man. Thank you for the invite. You know, obviously trying to look, half decent for your audience. Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, no, that's good. That's good. We're excited to have you here. I think I was just explaining to the people before you joined us is, the aim of the PMB live series is to be able to get, while we're in lockdown right now, to be able to get individuals who are doing incredible stuff in their life, either career-wise, wise, or whatever it is that they're involved in, to be able to give us snippets into their life, into what takes them over. And so myself, obviously, I'm heavily involved in the sartorial world with suits, with accessories. And I understand, obviously, as in this lockdown, you might not necessarily be able to reach out to your client, but my aim is to be able to offer the individuals like yourself who can also offer, tips on how they can be more productive and awesomeness, is the key to the message, really.
Of course.
So Michael, I'll just give the floor to you for a minute or two, just kind of introduce yourself to the people. I've had the privilege to meet you a couple of events in February, and I've heard your story is very inspiring, what you're currently doing, what you're involved in. And so the aim is to get you to kind of give us a snippet of what you do, who you are, and so forth. Yeah.
Cool. So as you guys know, my name is Michael Tabirade. I'm a British-born Ghanaian, and I've been working in the NHS for the past 10 plus years. So that's including project management, commissioning, contract management, all of that kind of stuff. And the reason why I got into the NHS is because originally I thought I wanted to do medicine. And quite early on, at the age of 23 or so, I was working alongside a lot of consultants, and I was really observing their lifestyle, and I thought, I don't really want to commit to this sort of lifestyle. That's nothing, bad about the NHS, because what they're doing right now in terms of doctors is commendable. But for me, I wanted something, let's say a different lifestyle, so to speak. And so I started to go down this whole rhythm and idea of focusing on developing my own intellectual property and serving people through my written word, my voice, and my ability to facilitate people from point 0 to point 100. And so that's where I got into coaching, facilitation, action learning sets, and mentoring as well. And obviously, as we've spoken before, I've self-published a couple of books as well. So that's me in a nutshell, pretty much.
No, that's fantastic. I'm sure people watching as well are quite inspired as I am as well. I mean, the key purpose of this conversation, like I said, is literally, when we spoke over the phone, is to kind of find out more about the mentality, what drives you, before we go into the tips that you can kind of give to. And if you guys have any questions, and while you're on live as well for Michael, please do shoot them through, and I'm sure we're trying to answer them. So the aim is to find out, what drive. You mentioned the NHS for 10 years, you're into mentorship, you're a life coach as well, and written books. So my aim in terms of, and life still happens in between those things. So I really want to find out, okay, how do you approach, being not necessarily the best, but so effective, across all these things that you're involved in?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I guess being the best is very much dependent upon who sees my work and how I see my work. And I think really and truly it comes down to me acknowledging what my values are as an individual. I've gone through many different stages in my life where I've come to different realizations, but it's always come down to really questioning what is important to me as an individual. So if we're focusing on what drive looks like, drive for me is developed through context. I need to have a good understanding of where I've come from. I have to have a good understanding of what my situation is. I have to have a good understanding in terms of what does my success mean, not only to myself, but to other people. Because if I can get that understanding, then I start to see what is important to me. And so for many people who have been sort of following a lot of my stuff online, they've been seeing me talking about honest impact. And really what that means is sticking to a life of authenticity, i.e. not
Right.
budging from anything that doesn't make sense for you as an individual. And
Mm.
you know how everyone says, you know, you're unique, you're special, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I truly do believe that in the sense of authenticity is what will make you successful, because by the very nature of aligning to things that make sense to you and resonate with your spirit, you're going to walk that path much easier. Whereas if you're
Right.
just doing things because, you know, other people have said this is great, or, you know, society's telling you you need to do it this way, how does that serve you as an individual? So I got really aggressive with saying, do you know what? I don't care what anyone else has to say. I'm going to go against the grain and do what makes sense for me, no matter what that means. And so
Wow.
it really meant that I had to sit down and focus and really think about what is it that I want, what is important to me as a person. So that's where the drive comes from, and that's where the context comes from as well.
Wow, that's incredible. Sorry, if you see me looking away to the left or to the right, I'm making notes by this way.
Okay.
So if you see my eyes shifting to the right, please don't think I'm ignoring you. I've got literally no pad here as well, you know, making it.
Oh, blessings, man.
Yeah, you know, to get those gems coming through. Nah, fantastic. You know, it sounds really, really good. And yeah, you mentioned authenticity as well. You know, maybe in a short form, how can people truly discover their purpose? You know, if that's you know, in a very short way where people can say, okay, you mentioned authenticity, you mentioned, you know, discovering the purpose. I think you also mentioned focus and what is it that makes you unique. So I mean, people are watching right now, maybe they might be in industries that they don't really like, or doing something right now they don't have good, you know, passion for. You know, how do people truly discover what it is that make them authentic or that makes them stand out?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and sometimes not an easy one to answer. But for me, in my mind, there is at least two things that you need to focus on.
Right.
The first thing is making sure that you experience life. You need to experience things, because if you see life as one big experiment where you basically do a lot of things and you get different results, you're seeing that as data. And that data can be inferred a certain way so that you can see whether your hypothesis about life is true or not. So you need to try things. If you're not sure about, you know, whether this is going to work for you, try it. If you know, if you see someone else do it, try it to see if it works for you. So experiencing life for what it is very important. The second thing is you need to be brutally honest about who you are as an individual and about what you want. Because if you're not ready to commit to honesty, there's like success is not going to be within you. It's not going to be within you. And so people need to get to a point where they're not running away from stuff and, let's say, relying on the gym or relying on their friends or relying on Instagram to give them satisfaction, but they're relying on their self-generating purpose or their self-generating self to honestly look at themselves and say, this is who I am as an individual. That's how you get to a point of authenticity. That's how you get to that point. And I feel like in society, a lot of people are scared to do that because they're scared of the work they have to do to overcome some of the stuff that they need to get through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it made perfect sense, man. The workload, I think that's key. I was talking to two of my brothers yesterday and today, and I was exactly the same thing I was saying in terms of the workload. Are you willing to pay the sacrifice that's required for you to get to that journey? But no, that's fantastic, man. I hope people are taking you guys. Look, I want to see comment from you guys. If you guys are enjoying what Michael is saying, you know, flood the comment section. Let us know what you think. And if you have questions as well, please do throw it through. And regarding to, I think at the beginning when you introduced yourself, you mentioned in terms of being in NHS, you know, at the beginning part of your journey, thinking, okay, this is not for me. You know, I don't want to be part of that lifestyle. This is what I want to shift to. Now, for some people, that's not an easy thing to kind of get into. Somebody's asking here, you know, how do you self-motivate? But yeah, before I actually go into my question, how do you, I think you answered some part of that previously. I don't know if you have any more thing you want to add into that in terms of how do you self-motivate yourself to continue to walk in that path that you kind of get that for yourself here?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And you'll realize that a lot of my answers are quite the same because people need to understand that they have the answers within them. That's why I do coaching. I really help people get to a point of understanding that the answers are within them. But in terms of that question, you self-motivate by doing deep diagnosis and deep work on yourself. You have to.
Right.
You have to understand, where am I at right now? Does that make sense for my goals, if you know what your goals look like, or your higher sense of purpose looks like? And even if you don't know what that looks like, sometimes your purpose is discovering what your purpose is. And so you have to,
I like
you
that.
get what I'm saying? So you have to be in a pursuit of understanding yourself and what is important to you as an individual. That comes down to honesty. When you're saying something to someone, are you being integral? If you're saying something to yourself, are you being integral? I'm getting to a point here. Once you get to that stage of genuineness and authenticity and honesty and integrity, then the focus is on creating structures where you aggressively attack and understand how the brain works, how people work, how you can get yourself in a position where you can actually achieve goals. Because I spent at least 5 to 7, 8 years of consistent studying. I've read over 300 plus different books on psychology, motivation, self-help, all of that kind of stuff, to really understand, what do I need to do? And there was a book by Maxwell Maltz called the Psycho-Cybernetics. And he says that you can't achieve any goal without aggression.
Wow.
And so with that in mind, if I need to achieve something, I need to hit it with aggression. You need to be able to put yourself in a position where you don't let your feelings get in the way, because if you let your feelings get in the way, we're programmed to do that as a security mechanism. Does that make sense? Yeah, so if you understand how these systems work within you, then obviously you're able to overcome, certain barriers that come into your life. Does that make sense?
Makes good sense, man. Wow. I hope that answered your question for the person that asked it. I think it's incredible. I loved what you said, that being aggressive, really folks feeding your intellectual mindset as well. Nah, this is good. This is good. I think somebody asked a question as well that I just missed as well. Somebody asked, what would you say you're successful now? And I think maybe what they're trying to find out is, are you at the place where you will say this is, the destination, if that makes sense? Yeah.
That's a very good point. So for me, I define success as living by my values. Wow. And so again, I want to iterate, your values are defined by what is important to you. So yeah, I am successful right now. Now, am I at a place where I'm hitting all my tangibles? No, I'm not there yet. I've got time to go. And obviously, us as human beings, we need goals to aim for. Otherwise, we wouldn't be human in that sense. So I'm successful in a sense of my own personal definition, but in terms of the tangibles, I'm always going to be climbing, because that's the person I am. I want to hit things with aggression. There are certain other things that I want, X, Y, and Z. So I'm successful in my own right. So yeah, to answer your question succinctly, I'm successful because my definition of success is living by my values.
Living by your values. Wow. This is incredible, man. This is incredible. And I hope everyone is learning as much as I'm learning. I'm making notes left, right, center with my right hand here. No, fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Michael. And I think for the question that I was about to ask before those couple of questions came in, is how do you transition, especially mentally wise, from okay, this is the beginning part of my career. I'm not really into that. I don't really want to do that lifestyle you mentioned earlier on, into the Michael. I'm talking about tips now. So obviously you've done it. So what kind of tips would you give to people that want to transition from, I'm here, don't really like it, want changes, want newness of things, but not really experiencing it, and so what three key things, just to keep a snippet of them, would you say people need to be aware of? I think you've mentioned quite a few things already. What key things would you think people would need to go from this is where I am into this is the man or woman I'm looking to become, career-wise?
No, that's a very good question. And I can only use my experience, obviously, as an example. So when I'm thinking about medicine, what made me not want to do it was consistent feelings of, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't make sense. And I could only identify with that by experiencing that feeling. And so with that identification, I was like, okay, if I don't like this, what's the alternative? So I started to look at the alternatives. The alternatives were starting my own business, think about a different sort of like career and all of that kind of stuff. And so looking at those other options, I'm like, what makes sense for me right now based on how I'm feeling? So you kind of have to be dareish and say, am I actually willing to get rid of my lifestyle that I'm living right now in order to experience this lifestyle that I'm looking to experience in the future. And so that's where the transition starts, is making that honest decision and saying, I don't want this anymore. I want that. So how are you going to attack that? Number one, you need to make sure that you're equipped with the right sort of know-how and knowledge. Okay. So sometimes you need to research your way into it. Sometimes you need to speak to the right people. Sometimes you need accountability for friends and family members. Sometimes you just need to watch a couple of YouTube videos to get you into that mindset. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so once you do all of those things, that should give you the impetus. Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you need to get hit real hard before you start to realize that, you know what? I don't like this life. I need to change it now because my inner spirit is saying something completely different. That's where the aggression comes into play.
Wow.
And when I say aggression, I'm not saying anything negative. What I'm saying is you have to hit it with a certain invigoration, a certain energy, and a certain passion, because you're going to make sure that you commit to that cause. I'm always talking about this, committing to a cause. You commit to something, i.e. you have the right set of disciplines and habits to focus on a pinpoint in your life, and the cause resonates with your heart, because it means no matter what, that's what your motivation is. Right. And so that's how you get from, it starts with feeling, to answer your question. The next step is research. The next step after that is implementation. You actually make sure you position yourself to actually do these things. And that's where you sort of like get accountability from different people as well. And until you keep on doing it until you get a result. Now, there's a clear difference between blind determination and actually resolve. Okay, so blind determination is doing the thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. But really and truly, you haven't been a scientist in terms of really understanding what the results are giving you. So it's very important to evaluate and really look and say, hey, like, I'm doing all of this stuff. Like, is it actually benefiting me or satisfying the goal that I'm trying to achieve? And if not, you need to find a way. Like, you have to find a way to pivot. And so you have to keep on doing this and doing it and doing it until you look back and you say, okay, what has changed? Then you start to understand what you need to focus on. And so that's how I would respond to that question.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Michael. That's incredible. that is incredible.
I looked a bit awkward. I was like, I was about to carry on. I was like, oh, no, slow down, Mike.
That's really key. No, that's incredibly key. Okay, and I love that mentality that you kind of brought on board in terms of the aggression, the discipline. You know, I think some things you said that I really love was the feelings and the research and the implementation, you know, in those orders as well, and finding a way, you know, having that it has to work kind of mentality. So now coming back to you in terms of, obviously you mentioned earlier on that you are a life coach. You know, you're getting involved in terms of with mentorship side of things as well. So how would you, you know, for somebody maybe who's never had it before, or they're skeptical about it, so how would you sort of, you know, tell people who's never done it before in terms of the advantage of having a coach like yourself in their life, or having a mentor that's someone like yourself in their life? What are the benefits? What are they looking to expect if they were to have Mike as a mentor in their life? Yeah.
That's a very good question, and not a lot of people like it. So I think the best way to explain this is to separate the definitions between a mentor and a coach. Okay, right. So a mentor is someone who is experienced within a specific field, and they may give you advice, suggestions, sort of like leading sort of directives in order to get you to understand what you need to do or to help you develop a specific skill. With coaching, what I do is help you help yourself. I act as a mirror. And so my responsibility as a coach is to make sure that I help facilitate you to a specific topic or goal, so that you're being honest to yourself and that you commit to what it is that you say you're going to do long after the feeling is gone. So I need to be very good at asking effective and powerful questions. I need to have active and deep listening. I need to use my inner supervisor to understand, what is your body language saying? What is your tonation saying? What is your aura saying in terms of you actually wanting to achieve your goal? And so I need to be trained in terms of human psychology to help you, facilitate you towards your goal. Now, I will never give you the answer. So some people come to me and they're like, oh, you know, I thought you were going to tell me what to do. Why? Like, you obviously have Google for them. Seriously, like most of the answers are on Google. You could go onto Google and find the answer, and you still won't do it.
Yeah.
So what happens with a coach? A coach enables you to do three main things. Number one, increase your self-awareness. Because if you increase your self-awareness, you have more to look at. You can see all the options. Okay. So number two, they also help you understand what are the key choices that you have in sort of liaison towards your goal. And number three is making you self-responsible for what it is that you need to be focusing on. And those 3 points I got from a book called Coaching for Performance by John Whitmore, for anybody who's interested in coaching. But those are the 3 things that I aim to do as a coach.
Fantastic. No, that sounds really key. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Just let me see which one there. So what is with obstacles? So somebody asked the question earlier on, how with the coaching, I hope people really understood in terms of how you brought down the mentorship side of things. And I love that coach is almost like a reflective mirror. I'm not here to, I'm not here to give you answer, but I'm here to make you aware of your options. I think that's incredible, man. I think that's incredible. And I really hope people are as much as and someone like Michael, don't worry. I have an announcement to make at the end of it in terms of how you can get hold of Michael even more to be able to learn, to be able to tap more into his knowledge, into his experience, how he's, I think I call you quadruple threat, there's triple threat, and then Michael is quadruple threat. So how did you overcome, somebody asked earlier on in the comment, how, when you were starting your journey, what were the things you had to overcome? You spoke about honesty, you talk about reflecting, being aggressive, what were the obstacles you personally, you had to overcome? And if there were steps that you took to get to where you are right now?
It's a good question. And for me, I've hit so many different obstacles. And to the period between 2014 to about 2018, I would say, I was hit heavy in terms of finances. Like, I was the sort of person that would go to this conference and that conference, and I was trained by the Rich Dad Poor Dad Society. I was trained by Andy Harrington in his Public Speakers University. Went to Les Brown events. I did book courses. That all came up to grands. Like, when I say tens of thousands of grands, like it's not a joke. But it left me in a position where I was like, whoa, I've spent all this money. I've got all this knowledge, but I can't even use this money to even facilitate or actualize this knowledge. Because in my mind, I was going to be this big time business consultant, who makes money from Facebook ads. And I could tell you everything about Facebook ads and how funnels work and all of that kind of stuff, all the digital marketing stuff. A deep debt that was hanging on me for a very long time. And so what needed to happen was that I needed to be slapped with some humble pie. And it really got me to a point of humility. Like, I needed to be humble. I needed to say, okay, this is the situation I'm in. Like, this person over there is doing all these different things. I know I could do that. If anything, I could give it even more. However, I'm not there yet. Because I made a decision X years ago or X months ago that I need to live with now. I need to deal with it now. And so I needed to be honest in that situation. And so that honesty enabled me to think about what was the plan. What do I need to do for me? Not what's the plan for a black male in London who looks successful in a suit and is making all this money, X, Y, and Z. What's the plan for me right now based on my given situation? Because if I didn't have that humility, if I didn't dilute my ego, and if I wasn't honest, I would still be in that situation. I'd still be thinking I could be that Facebook ads guy making all this money when I haven't even cleared all of this stuff. So finances got in the way big time, like big time. And obviously, I don't want to seem, sexist or whatever it is, but as an African male, like, when money becomes an issue, it's like, whoa, like, like you feel like nothing, But humility is what made me really think and really be introspective about all of this stuff. And so when I got out of that mess completely, then I was like, right, it's game time. Now I can express myself even more. And so for people who are in obstacles, think about what is the one thing that you're avoiding. Because that's probably the answer to all of your problems that you can overcome. focus on tackling that, because I had a coachee yesterday who had all of these different goals that they wanted to achieve, but there's always one thing that pops up, and so it's quite evident that they need to focus on tackling that thing. It can't be ignored, because the more you ignore it, the more it exacerbates into your very being, where you don't even feel like you're yourself anymore. So finances was a big part of my obstacles when it came to my journey so far. And like, things are just, this is like, as much as 2020 has been globally like terrible, for me personally, I hit a lot of milestones, like in a very good way. So yeah, blessings as well, man. Thank you. So it's all perspective, and it's all very dependent on the individual.
All right, fantastic. No, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. That's incredible. I hope that really helped the person that asked the question as well, in terms of how they can overcome obstacles. This is the final questions I'll take. You say that, what if you don't feel confident that you can change, or like what you have a passion for something, but the skills to follow that passion, but you lack the skills to follow that passion. But yeah, so what, how would you, in a snippet way, give them the preview of how they can overcome this? Yeah.
Okay, so all I can say is you have to have a deep understanding of what your dream is and what reality is, and how that sort of liaises together. Because if you have a clear understanding of what reality says, nothing in life is free. Nothing in life is free. So you have to be able to commit to sacrifice in order to improve yourselves. And so when you get to that state of, okay, this is what I'm committing to in order to sacrifice so I can reach my dreams, then you can have a better idea of whether you're on the right path or not. So you said I should give a snippet. I'm going to leave it there, but sacrifice is a big part of it.
Fantastic. That's why I said give them the snippet. Don't give the full answer here. And the reason why I said that as well is simply because I would like, to, with Michael, I think more on, how do I say, when we have more time to be able to get more people into the room, and that he'll be able to give us that, the full load. Does that make any sense? On how we can appreciate his service, and how we can appreciate his expertise, his experience. Like I said, he's involved into books as well. With your book, quickly, where can people get your books? What are they called, and what platform are they available on?
So they can get them on Amazon. So this is the first one, Understand, Reach, Expand. 15 super effective ways to manage your mind. We've got the second one, Desire, the cornerstone to nothing and success. Happiness. I'm not going to go for all of that. And this was the latest one released as well, which is not part of the series, but this one is all about goals and how you can really set them. You can get them on Amazon, e-copy and physical copy. Obviously, I'd recommend e-copy because of this crisis. Not quite audible yet, but that is definitely coming at some point in the future.
Nah, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And hope you guys as well, if you want to reach out Michael, you can follow his page. And if you have any more questions, you can answer it. Look, the guy doesn't come for free, man. You need to be able to invest into your future and be able to invest into what you're looking to achieve in life. Thank you so much for today, Michael. Like I said, I'm looking to give people the preview of what they're capable of. And I think with PMB, with Prince Made Bespoke, my aim is not only to cater to my client in terms of being well dressed, looking well externally, but my key as well is to be able to get the wholesomeness, especially the lifestyle of my clients, for them to understand where they are in their journey. Because I understand as a business person that a successful client makes a successful business also. So if my clients are successful, I understand that they will be able to invest into themselves. And I believe how the investment also is dressing well, looking good. So hence the reason why I want to go beyond the norm by inviting someone like yourself with your experience, with your expertise, to be able to share with the followers, with the people that's coming into the live video, to understand, what it takes for them to be successful in their own personal life. It's great to appear successful, but I'm also also care enough about my clients as well, for them to be able to understand their mindsets that they need to have for them to be able to go to that next level. So I'll keep brief. So please do watch out. There'll be an announcement sometime in the near future where there'll be more collaboration with Michael But I thought, I will introduce him to you through this platform so that you are aware of who he is and what he does and how fantastic he is. I've met him in real life, really humble, down to earth guy as well. So once again, thank you, Michael. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this evening as much as I have. I've made, note upon note upon. I want to watch this back as well, to really key into those things. So God bless. So you guys have an amazing evening, and I hope you enjoy your weekend, Michael.
Thank you. You too. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Take care. God bless.
God bless. That's it. Have an incredible weekend. Thank you, guys. All right.
Okay, bye.